Today's new member of the day, the final new member of the day for 2015, is Clyde Brafford. Clyde, thank you so much for being a David Pakman Show member. You can join Clyde at davidpakman.com/membership. We are now going to look back at some of the biggest and most watched stories that we covered in 2015. And one of those was a story we broke about an African-American man in Ohio who was stopped by police because he made direct eye contact, and apparently that was suspicious. We will also review some other big stories involving police and non-white Americans from 2015, including police pepper spraying a man having a stroke, a medical emergency, and of course that story from a couple months ago of a police officer flipping a black girl who was sitting in her desk at school and basically treating her as if she was a mop all over the floor. Three very big stories on our show 2015, and three stories that went viral. One as a result of our breaking that story. Let's review 2015. I was in touch with friend of the show, David Sparks, who's from Ohio, the other day, and he told me that a man named John Felton, who's a black American, posted a video to his Facebook page of being pulled over by police in Dayton, Ohio, and ultimately told that he was pulled over for making direct eye contact with the police officer. This is absolutely crazy. John Felton posted on Facebook that Dayton police trailed him for almost 2 miles before pulling him over in front of his mom's house. The initial reason, and I don't know that anybody has played this video, Lewis. This is something that was sent to us directly. I've been in touch with John Felton, who is the man in the video. He initially asked about why he was pulled over. And he was pulled over, as I'll play for you, not because he didn't use his turn signal, but because the officer believed he didn't use his turn signal 100 feet before initiating the turn. We're talking about a technicality of technicalities here. Here's part one of the video.
How y'all doing today?
Good.
My name is Officer Bessie, Dayton Police Department. The reason I'm pulling you over today, sir, is because you didn't signal 100 feet prior to your turn. I saw you turn your turn signal on, but you didn't turn it on 100 feet prior.
Did I say he was going to do all this? I watched you trail me the whole time. I said, well, I don't know why this cop is behind me. I'm glad I got my video camera on too.
Well,
I did signal.
Okay.
I did signal. You just needed a reason
I am
to pull me
acknowledging
over.
that you did signal. Okay, I'm acknowledging that you signaled. You just didn't do it 100 feet prior to your turn.
You just needed a reason to pull me over, sir.
Okay.
Is there a reason other than that? Because I did signal.
Do you have your license and insurance on you, sir?
I have everything.
Okay.
So after this, the officer goes back to the police car, eventually comes back, and reveals the real reason why he chose to pull Mr. Felton over. Mr. Felton having a sense that this explanation, well, you signaled, but it wasn't exactly 100 feet before you turned. And now it turns out that there was another factor here that made the officer pull over Mr. Felton. I will warn you, there is some strong language here. Take a look.
No disrespect. I don't have nothing against police officers, but all the shit that's going on now, that's some scary shit. To have a police officer just trailing you, and then you just pull me because you said I didn't signal. What? Do you know how that looks? You drive without being in the cop car, right? You know how it is when the police pulling you over. You're like, I'm not doing nothing. Why is he? Every move I make, why is he making it? I'm not doing nothing.
Okay.
Because I have a Michigan plate. Other than that, why was you trailing me?
Because you made direct eye contact with me and held onto it when I was passing you
What?
on Salem.
I made direct. I didn't even see you until
I'm
you
not
were
going to argue about
behind
it
me.
anymore, sir. If you want to keep talking about it, I'll just take your license back and give you a citation for the violation. We can take it to court.
That's right, because you made direct eye contact with me. A stunning admission, Lewis. Direct eye contact, and you get pulled over. Is direct eye contact considered probable cause or suspicious activity now?
I think in this case, I'm not sure if the explanation was that he started trailing this man because of the eye contact, or he basically pulled them over because of the eye contact. We can say with certitude that the trailing started because of eye contact. And, I would assume that his superiors would condemn this. It's pretty absurd.
If they even became aware of it. As David Sparks told me, other notably racially tinged incidents involving police in Dayton recently. John Crawford was shot in Beaver Creek, Ohio, which is about 15 miles from Dayton. Kylan English, who police claim broke out the back window of a cruiser and propelled himself while handcuffed out of the window of a cruiser and ran and jumped off a bridge. That is another story from the Dayton, Ohio area. And David Sparks himself saying he gets a lot of complaints all the time about street harassment. His wife is black, and he says that she was stopped several times just driving to her parents' house. They live in an upper income, mostly white suburb. And David saying that this sort of flare up with Dayton and Dayton area police is not uncommon. There it is. The reason for this, whether it's the traffic stop or even just initially starting to trail Mr. Felton, because he made direct eye contact with a police officer. And it's funny because noticeably avoiding eye contact with police is also considered something by some police to be suspicious. In either way, you're arguably doing something suspicious.
Yeah, pretty amazing that despite knowing that he was being recorded, he admitted that the trailing started because of this eye contact, like as if that's some type of normal thing that's just perfectly okay.
We have done many, many stories over the last incredibly close to 10 years about police brutality and improper use of force. And the video I have for you today is one of the worst that I can recall. It's 34-year-old black man, David Washington, who is having a stroke in his car in Virginia. The incident was caught on video. You will see Officer Sean Jurgens walk up to David Washington's car and use his taser on him without warning through the open window. Then another police officer comes up and sprays Washington with pepper spray right in the face. It's reminiscent of casual pepper spray cop Lieutenant John Pike, where it's just this never-ending stream of pepper spray. Washington is basically not moving. He was having a stroke at the time as he's being tasered, as he's being sprayed with pepper spray. And the reason he's not getting out of the car is because he's having a stroke. The video is very disturbing. I will warn you of that before we play it. This is 34-year-old David Washington having a stroke as he is tasered and pepper sprayed by police in Virginia.
Traffic on primary, shows 2108 out with a vehicle carrying a towel can.
Get out the car! Get out the car, I'm gonna fucking smoke you. Get out the car. Right now. We ain't playing. Get out the car. That's the point. Get out. Don't move around.
So the video is just stunning. According to Officer Jurgens, he said that he thought at the time Washington maybe was under the influence of alcohol or drugs, and that he was concerned because there was a school nearby. An investigation was done by the Fredericksburg Police Department. It showed that Officer Jurgens' use of force was not at all in line with department policies. The other two officers at the scene are being investigated by the department. Following his arrest, Washington was taken to a nearby hospital and later released. He has been charged with reckless driving and driving on a revoked license, but ended up not being charged beyond that or further arrested. In other words, he was arrested initially and brought to the hospital because he clearly needed medical care. During the time he was at the hospital, it would seem that the police figured out an actual arrest here and bringing him downtown is not proper. Great work, right? I mean, a man is having a serious medical emergency. He gets tasered and pepper sprayed. Do police really think that when a guy just sort of slumps over motionless in his car, he's doing it simply to annoy them?
Well, first, let me start by saying it looks like these are police-mounted cameras, right? And it's a very good thing we had those here. Otherwise, we might not have seen any of this. Yeah. So great thing that those were implemented here. Clearly, the cops are scared, They're afraid. I don't know if white cops are afraid of black people, but from all of the videos and stories we've covered, it would seem that that's the case.
And yes, and we've certainly talked about that issue and the racial disparities. But when you see this, the department has said they don't believe that the actions here were even remotely justified with regard to use of force. Do you agree when you see the video, Lewis, and see this man just sitting in his car getting tasered and pepper sprayed?
Of course. He had one arm down. One arm was in clear sight. Maybe they thought he was going to pull a gun, but police do not get to, they don't get to make those assumptions. You can't assume that someone is going to hurt you. You can't guess that someone is going to hurt you. You need evidence. You need to see that they are about to pull a gun. You need to see a gun. You need to see a weapon. You need to see some act of aggression. And police aren't doing that. They are just, shoot first, ask questions later.
Yeah, if the man was with his arms hidden, not getting out of the car, but very clearly motioning or looking like he's doing something, or even moving at all rather than having a stroke, you could say, oh, preemptive use of force made sense there. But the man is essentially motionless. We will see what happens. Could be a huge, huge lawsuit here coming up for David Washington. All right, viral video is making the rounds. South Carolina authorities are investigating an incident caught on 2 videos, which went viral yesterday afternoon. A white school police officer in Columbia, South Carolina, grabbed a black female student by the neck, flipped her backwards as she sat at one of those desks where the desktop is connected to the chair. You remember those desks, Lewis. It's the ones that you used to disassemble and pour ink all over in protest of any schoolwork. Flips her backwards as she's sitting on the desk, and then just basically drags her around the floor like the guy's using a floor buffer, right? I mean, it's just insane video. Before we go any further, let's show the video to our television audience. If you're listening on the radio or listening to the podcast, I recommend you check out the clip online. It's super easy to find. Let's take a look. In another video, the officer can be heard telling another student, "I'll put you in jail next." What was going on here? Richland County Sheriff Leon Lott said to a local TV station that the officer was responding to a disruptive student who was refusing to leave class at Spring Valley High School. Spring Valley High School has about 2,000 students. 52% are black, 30% are white. Officials have not released the name of the student nor of the officer, but the officer has been identified by students as Ben Fields, and he has reportedly been suspended from his role as one of 2 school resource officers. Debbie Ham, the superintendent of the Richland County School District 2, says that officials are deeply concerned about this. People online are commenting, Lewis, saying, listen, the girl should have just gone with him, and this entire thing would have been prevented. Since when is a kid just not leaving class? Not violent, no weapons, not a threat to herself or anybody else. Since when is that a law enforcement issue, which, by the way, led to the student being jailed, and ultimately released to her parents?
Yeah, so I guess the student was mouthing off. I don't know. You're right. I think this is to be dealt with by the school. There are ways to do that. There's this trend among police officers that as soon as someone is resisting arrest, it doesn't matter if it's violent or not, that they just decide they're going to do whatever they want to do to this person.
And of course, this is not even resisting arrest because the student was just not going down to the principal's office.
Well, I think at one point what happened was the cop said, "I'm placing you under arrest." And then, if there's any resistance, I mean, even just moving your arm away, well, that's the type of thing that will happen.
That's the green light.
It's unnecessary. I mean, there's no situation in which this girl wins, right?
That's exactly my point, which is by doing this, how are you improving her future? By now she's involved with the law enforcement system. You want to talk about the school to prison pipeline? Look at that 14 seconds of video. And what seems to be even more disturbing, we don't yet know if this is true, but one of the 10th graders who was in the class, says he was in the class, his name's Aaron Johnson. He tweeted that this all started because the girl was chewing gum, all because of gum. And, thinking back to our days in school, Lewis, we had a student punch a teacher, and we didn't like that teacher, Lewis. But even that teacher knew, and the school knew, that we have to handle this in an administrative way, that taking a 10-year-old and involving them in the criminal justice system is bad for everybody.
Yeah, and I've seen police officers arrest people who are resisting arrest without violence. It can be done. It's actually very simple.
Sure.
But you've got bad cookies, Dave. You got bad apples here.
At our high school, this would have been unheard of because the school resource officer was too busy having sex with students to flip anybody's desk over. But that's probably a story for another day, right?
Yeah. I think maybe we've discussed that a bit on the bonus show.
3 big stories from 2015 involving police and African Americans. After the break, we will review 3 big stories related to election 2016, really about 3 candidates for 2016. That's after the break. Remember that I am on Twitter at @Pakman. Lewis is on Twitter at Lewis Motamedi. It's the final show of 2015.